On September 22, 1985, the Plaza Accord was signed among the G5 nations of France, Germany, the UK, the US, and Japan, with the goal to weaken the US dollar in order to reduce the mounting US trade deficit. Sounds like a noble cause, right? Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg, because what unfolded next wasn't just a mere economic adjustment, but a masterstroke that may have led to the unexpected and dramatic destruction of the Japanese economy. Despite currently ranking as the world's third largest economy, Japan's economy decided to take a leisurely stroll in the slow lane, starting in the 1990s, and it seems it's been on an extended vacation from robust growth ever since. Before we dive into the chapters of this video, please note that there are several other factors that contributed to the stagnation in Japan's economy, but for this video, we're focusing on the Plaza Accord. But comment below your thoughts too, and let us know other major factors for the downfall of Japan's economy. To comprehend the true impact of the Plaza Accord on Japan's economy, let's briefly talk about Japan's rise in the post-war era. Following World War II in 1945, Japan's economy was in ruins, but remarkably, it made a shift and impressive recovery from the aftermath of the war. The US took administrative authority in Japan after World War I. While some might say it was to help Japan rebuild, others suggest that they just wanted a front-row seat for some live Japanese reality TV, and they established a larger military presence in that part of the world. By 1956, real per capita (GDP) in Japan had overtaken the pre-war 1940 level, and by the late 1960s, Japan was like the Cinderella story of economies, going from rags to riches and becoming the world's second-largest economy with an average growth rate of 10%. In 1973, Japan's per capita GDP was 95% of Britain's and 69% of the United States. Scholars cracked the case, revealing that Japan's astounding growth was thanks to its strong education system and growth-focused economic policies. Japan quickly developed into a manufacturing expertise, crafting masterpieces of some of the most powerful companies in the world at that time, like Sony, Canon, Nikon, Toyota, Mitsubishi, and Honda. Also, when it came to the efficient pricing, Japan was the discount store of the global marketplace. They sold top-quality goods at prices that made competitors wonder if they were actually printing money. Other countries tried to keep up, but that was like trying to race a cheetah on roller skates. Japan was just that fast and efficient. Within 2 short decades, Japan's PPP per capita made a miraculous big leap, improving from a mere 16% of the US level to over 70%. Their economic growth was the world's envy, outpacing that of the United States. However, 1973 marked the end of the rapid growth era, as Japan faced an abrupt downward shift on growth rate at 5.2% during this time. While other factors such as the oil crisis and pollution prevention regulations were considered, real appreciation of the yen has been a distinctive feature of the Japanese economy in the post-war period. In the first half of the 80s, the US found itself in a bit of a trade deficit frenzy. The American appetite for imported goods was insatiable, and they were bringing in products from all corners of the globe as they just hit the economic jackpot. The US dollar was the crown jewel of currencies, towering over its international counterparts like a skyscraper in a small town. It outshone the British pound, the French franc, the German mark, and the Japanese yen. Now, American exporters, usually the cool kids on the international playground, found themselves in a tight spot. The high-flying dollar made their goods look like luxury items, and instead of getting in on the global action, they were losing business to their British, French, Japanese, and German counterparts, who were suddenly the life of the economic party. So, what did the US do? Well, they decided to convene at a fancy hotel with their international pals. At this swanky venue, they hatched a plan known as the Plaza Accord among the G5 nations to manipulate exchange rates by knocking the US dollar down a peg, especially concerning its Japanese yen and the German Deutsche Mark. This agreement triggered an exceptionally large appreciation of the yen, amounting to 46% against the dollar and 30% in real effective terms by the end of 1986. On the surface, things looked pretty good from a US perspective. The goal of reducing the trade deficit was on track, and that had Uncle Sam doing a happy dance. But flip the coin, and Japan was facing some serious hurdles. Their export-oriented economy was suddenly taking body blows as their products became as expensive as a luxury yacht at an international auction. Japan faced economic challenges as the Plaza Accord was implemented. Imported petroleum prices rose, labor costs increased, and the yen appreciated against foreign currencies. The Plaza Accord caused the Japanese yen to flex its muscles, which unfortunately made Japanese goods pricier for international buyers. As a result, the global demand for Japanese goods weakened. This punched Japanese export champs like car and tech companies in the gut. Suddenly, their goods weren't winning the price war in foreign markets, and it hit their bottom line hard. Their exports declined due to the higher yen, and their revenues and profits started to shrink. To cope, Japanese companies did a global marathon, relocating their production to countries with cheaper labor and more budget-friendly currencies, even setting up shop in the US. Now, as a country whose economy heavily relied on exports, this economic adjustment and relocation of production led to major short-term shocks, causing disruptions, layoffs, and a slowdown in economic growth, akin to a recession. In the first half of 1986, Japan's export and GDP growth hit the pause button. To offset this shock, the Japanese government made desperate attempts at damage control. They decided to host a national game of Monopoly in the form of expansionary monetary and fiscal policy to boost the domestic economy, but did so longer than necessary, resulting in the bubble economy of the late 1980s, which was characterized by inflated prices for assets such as stocks and land. Picture this: interest rates were lowered, which meant people could borrow more money, and a combination of tax cuts and higher government spending meant people had more money to spend. This massive macroeconomic stimulus, in combination with other policies, created equally massive credit and asset price bubbles in Japan's financial and real estate markets through the late 1980s. When this bubble burst in the early 1990s, equity values nosedived by a whopping 60% from late 1989 to August 1992. Land values followed suit, plummeting by an astounding 70%. Throughout the 90s, Japan experienced a period of economic stagnation, often referred to as the lost decade. Despite trying various economic policies, it felt like their growth engine had stalled, leaving them in a prolonged economic traffic jam. The Nike 225 average, which had reached an all-time high of 39,000 in 1989, dropped to only half that much within a year, and was at just 17,000 by the end of 1992. Even today, the index has still not come close to returning to such lofty heights. Towards the end of the 90s, Japan was hit by a significant recession. As the new century began, there were signs of improvement, but it was more like a mixed bag. Growth rates were modest, and they had to deal with the occasional economic curveball, creating a rather unpredictable economic terrain. But that's not all. Japan was also facing demographic challenges, with an aging population and a declining birth rate. This added to its economic woes as the workforce was shrinking. While Japan has made strides in adapting and modernizing its economy with a focus on technology, innovation, and strengthening its domestic market over the years, it has not returned to the same economic vigor it once enjoyed. The long-term impact of Japan's economic policies, including its response to the Plaza Accord, continues to shape its economic trajectory. But there are reasons to doubt that it was truly inevitable, whether the Plaza Accord was really the direct cause of Japan's lost decades and long economic stagnation. What do you think is the major cause of Japan's economic stagnation? Share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on thought-provoking topics like this.